Can you give us a little story about probably one of the more challenging projects or more interesting projects that you've had to face? And
all projects have that sort of challenge aspect, but I think one that stands out is a big project we're doing to revamp an entire kind of UI. And this was across enterprise products with hundreds of screens. I think the total was about 500. We needed to come up with a sort of layout system that would almost be content aware and use technology to, allow it to understand what content is on a screen. And, each screen has sort of different functions and features, very kind of data heavy applications. And I think that was a challenge just in terms of delivering that. Like a small team, a team of 3, and just managing that and getting through, I think, in just managing the stakeholders and getting through the sort of 500 screens in a year with an incredible amount of work and QA. I think that was probably challenging just by sheer quantity. And we had proposed this design solution and this new user interface. So to roll it out and to have great feedback, that's where, everyone, the PMs right down to the users, coming back and saying, look, you've made an amazing difference in the product. To me, that was interesting because you had that sort of challenge and we, completed it successfully, but the reward of users actually saying, like, you actually listened to us. We've been saying this for ages and, you were able to sort of come in and take our feedback and turn it into something that makes our lives easier. That was a great kind of cherry on top to a very challenging, deadline-heavy kind of project.
Just initially when we went in there with this client and just sitting around the board and they're looking at me and they're showing me the screens and asking, so how would you fix this? In front of like 15, 20 people, the president of the company asked me, how would you fix this? And what's wrong with it? And I said, well, first of all, that's not UX. Okay. What you're talking about is UI. What we do is we don't fix things just from a visual standpoint. We fix it from a workflow standpoint. So it's a much deeper fix. It entails not just providing assets, but teaching your organization how to think from a user-centric position versus a development-centric. What you're talking about is a lot of the things that we help champion within the organization is just that, is changing your mindset to think like, oh, we know what we know about the user. We're just going to build this and they're just going to use it. But actually getting feedback, understanding, will they really need it? And I'm sure you remember when we were testing with users, some of the SMEs in the room that were giving us assumptions on features who were in the industry for years, for decades, they even made wrong assumptions. We're seeing that with a lot of the, enterprise software as well. You've got users that are so used to a workflow. You change something in there, immediately it's going to be negative change. Even if their workflow is not efficient, it's efficient for them because they know it. And now you're changing the entire interface around. It's always a hard thing to go in and make changes to something that they've used for years.
And that's where we love that sort of Ross diagram of the design for grief, but
psychological change.
But kind of walks everyone through the kind of grief of UI change. And it is, that's particularly sort of funny to apply because you do see it. You see it in any sort of rollout you do. Oh, no, can't stand it. And all those sort of denial and depression. And then, oh, no, this is pretty good. No, I think I prefer it to the last one. Exactly. So you go through, you ride that with all your, all the users. It's really funny.
And I remember that when I'm talking to this specific client and talking to the VP, I remember that particular incident where I'm sitting in the office when we're doing our pitch and when I hear they had one of the biggest UX agencies that I know as a potential competitor to us, I would follow some of their blogs and some of their things and like, oh, okay, that's who we're competing against. One of the things that made him pick us, our company over theirs, was the fact that I said, look, we're not only going to tell you what we think or recommend what is best, but also help you execute on this and take ownership of what we recommend and be with you along the way. And I don't think this other company was willing to do that. It's just a lot of agencies don't do that either way. And so it's easy to just tell you, here you go, wipe your hands clean, see you later, give us our money.
Absolutely.
But to stay with the client for long term is hard.